Professor, we were speaking earlier about the cultural context, patriarchy, etc., that comes in and filters into an Islamic understanding. And very often many women are intentionally confused by certain ulama who give them perhaps just one opinion of a diverse structure or an issue. And as a result, they believe that only that opinion is correct and therefore everybody else is incorrect or wrong. So, for example, in the case of the right of women to attend the mosque for Salah or to go for Eid Salah, there is within the South African context a very strong suggestion that it is haram for women to attend the mosque, it is haram for them to go to the Eid Salah, and again based on that particular argument that women are a fitna or that they will distract men. So how do we then reconcile this, or perhaps make women aware that there are different opinions? Or is it that once you're in a particular stream of thinking, you will remain there and therefore they will always look at the other as the one who is doing something wrong?
Look, the first thing to do is exactly what you are saying, is to be aware that there are many different opinions on many issues. You know, when I was studying in Egypt with the scholars to get the ijazat in 7 disciplines, I was one of the disciplines was to deal with the fiqh issues that were there is disagreements between the scholars, and we went through 63 different situations where the scholars have different opinions, and we need to be aware of that all these opinions are not less Islamic when they are more flexible. It's not more Islamic when it's tougher. This mentality is wrong. It's the more it's, you know, it's difficult and strict, we feel it's more Islamic, and sometimes the more it's against the West, the more it's Islamic. All this mindset behind is wrong. What we need to do with women and men is first to be aware there are different opinions. Now, within a specific madhab or school of law, what we have, for example, in South Africa, is people who are very much within the Hanafi and with a very strict understanding, and they present an opinion of a scholar as being the only opinion, and sometimes not exactly in the right way. Because there is no scholar saying it's haram to go to the mosque, or it's haram to attend the Eid prayer. It could be mustahab for them, meaning it's preferable not to go, but to say it's haram is wrong. This is one. The second is that even we have this opinion with scholars, you have many others, and the majority of the scholars say it's good for the Muslim women to be and to attend prayers in the mosque. Aisha radiallahu anha was saying, I used to go to pray, and she's talking about 2 specific prayers by saying during the Maghrib there was still enough light to be seen. So meaning prayer, the Maghrib is at the beginning, and during the Fajr prayer there was not enough light to be seen, meaning she was going at the beginning as well, which is an explanation and a proof that she was attending the prayer. And we have so many other things. So we need to get this sense that there are many different positions. And now, when you deal with a society in a specific context where there is a majority opinion coming from scholars, coming from a very specific school, to confront them by saying it's wrong is not going to work. But to challenge them by saying there are many other opinions, and in our context it might be that one opinion that worked in a specific context is not the right one now, and we have to rethink our position. This is what women should do. So getting more knowledge, not to put themselves in a situation that this is the only Islamic opinion, to challenge this in a constructive way. It's very important to be knowledgeable and constructive, not only looking for clashes and thinking we are going to change mentality. The more the women are showing that they are attending, that they are active, that they are efficient, and they prove through the efficiency that they are able to be good Muslims as to the principles and effective as activists, the more things are going to move.
Inshallah. So then, in this context again, is it, as we have often been told, un-Islamic for Muslims to participate in the political process of their countries?
once again, what you have with this question is some views by some literalists, Salafi literalists, that they think that, you know, the political process, even democracy, it's not Islamic because the democracy is not in the Quran. We have these views. They are today minority views, and what we have to say is the majority opinion, and this is what I have been advocating for the last 30 years. When you are in the West and you are a citizen, to take part in the political discussions and debates, to be involved, may even to be elected and to get a political mandate is something which is not only preferable, but it's a kind of a moral duty. I wouldn't say it's the only thing which, it's not a duty, it's not fard, but I would say it's mustahab, it's better for us because it helps us to understand. So I wouldn't go for this in a discussion which is halal and haram. It's min al mubah, it's permissible, and it's very, very important for the Muslims to be involved in politics without forgetting their principles.
And then finally, I would like to know, you speak about living your Sharia. What would you then, in simple terms, mean by that definition?
You meant it was far. In simple terms, I would say living your Sharia, you know, there are two things. That the first dimension where you implement your Sharia is طبق الشريعة في قلبك. It means just to implement Sharia in your heart. And Sharia, the first, is liberating yourself from your ego, liberating yourself from everything which is not this kind of purity of the oneness of God, the Tawheed, and trying to do all these things to please Him and to love Him and hoping that you are going to be loved by Him. So this is living your Sharia in spiritual terms. So the center of Sharia is this, and all the people who are putting, you know, the mystical tradition outside Sharia are wrong. This is the heart, this is the light, this is what helps you to see, to look at the world. And then in your life it means just to be consistent with your values. It comes to the very simple verse, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who believe and do good deeds. And it's just to stick by the ethical principles that you have, to try to be consistent, to be self-critical, to respect human beings, to respect animals, to respect nature, and to be a positive presence wherever you are. This is Sharia, is a positive message, and it welcomes everything which is good in humanity.
And yet this explanation is the total contradictory of what is usually understood by Sharia, because when it is mentioned in a Western term, or even by Muslims themselves, the first thing they think about is cutting the hand of the person who steals, or, you know, pelting the adulteress, or things like that, because they have that baseline understanding of Sharia.
But the problem is exactly this one. When you start talking about your spirituality and your religion by the punishment, you have a very deep problem with the essence of light. Light is not to be defined by darkness and what you will get in darkness. Light has to be defined by the state of heart and the state of mind and the state of peace that you need to get. So it's the way to look at life, is not the way to look at punishment that defines Sharia.
And then in terms of our identity, because we spoke about this double alienation or self-alienation of Muslims, is it possible then, by adopting this standpoint, we ourselves are becoming more discriminatory?
Yes, I think that the Muslims today, they have a kind of obsession of halal and haram when they are practicing Muslims, and they tend to they don't feel this, but by protecting themselves in such a way, they are sending a message to the people who are of other faiths, which is negative. It's just, who am I? You know, in the way you are treating me or looking at me, or trying to isolate yourself from who I am and my life. And I think that this is not the way. You have it in the Quran, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We made you tribes and nations in order for you to know each other. This mutual knowledge, it's important. So the best, when you want to stick to your principles, to be who you want to be confident with your principles and your identity, is to explain. Tell the people. The people are respectful when you explain. Just don't take it as they don't like Islam. They don't like Islam out of ignorance or because there are people who are pushing them to think that you are a threat. How do you deal with an intellectual threat? You explain, you talk, you communicate. So this is al-hiwar, which is a way of debating and talking and explaining, is something which is important. So I would say to all Muslims within their family, with their kids, with their wives, with their husbands, with their fellow citizens, talk more and with wisdom.
Alhamdulillah. I would like you to leave us with a final comment.
The final comment is this one. I think that all what you have been saying and you know, upstream from all your questions, at the end of the day, it's very much something which has to do with trying to understand trying to understand what Islam is all about. And what Islam is all about is first to be at peace with God. And there are two ways to be at peace with God, is to be clear about the fact that if you have a disciplined way of life and you are consistent with your principles, you will get this inner peace. And when you get this inner peace, and it's a challenging process, every day you have to start again this struggle in a noble way, is also to look at the people and before judging, because they are not like you, try to celebrate the dignity of who they are and who they might be. So it's also a way of not being judgmental about what the people were and have been doing with their life, but to be positive about the potential. And this is it. Islam is about this. You might look at your past with sadness. You should look at your future with commitment.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair. And I think it all comes down ultimately also to the individual personality. And so I would like to leave our viewers with this one particular comment, and it says, personality can open doors, but only character can keep them open. So let us try and build a better character. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.